Hello everyone, my name is Sagar, you're watching CarWale and this is a comparison test. Except it's not a comparison test. Think of this video as a solution to your dilemma if you're looking to buy the new Hyundai Verna but cannot decide which version to go for. Here we have the 1.5 litre naturally aspirated Verna to my left and the 1.5 turbo Verna to my right. Now, apart from the colors, they both are quite identical. I mean, the dimensions are exactly the same and so is the wheelbase. Even the engine displacement is quite evenly matched, but that's where all the similarities end. The engines in fact are poles apart and so are the gearbox options that you get with the new Verna. Obviously, the 1.5 turbo Verna is all about performance, driving fun, and a bit of individuality. So there are a few extra features that it gets over this non-turbo model. We shall get to those later. It also gets a 7-speed dual-clutch automatic gearbox to put down the power as soon as possible because there is a lot of it. You are looking at nearly 160 brake horsepower and 253 Nm of torque. Coming to the naturally aspirated Verna, it makes less power and quite a bit less torque at 115 brake horsepower and 144 Nm of torque. But that's not really the point of this version. It's far more easygoing, it's got a less complicated engine and a CVT gearbox instead of a DCT. In terms of differences, visually there isn't a lot that separates the turbo Verna from the NA car. I mean, the lights, the grille and the bumpers, they are all the same. But if you take a closer look, you will notice that the turbo car gets this additional vent over the grille. The tire size on both is the same, but you get black alloy wheels with red brake calipers on the turbo Verna, whereas the NA car makes do with razor cut design for the same alloys and silver brake calipers. Inside, you get a fully black interior with red accents for the turbo model, and it all goes really well with the nature of this car. Similarly, the naturally aspirated Verna has a more traditional but classy looking black and beige interior. The bright colors, the leather-like finish on the dash, and the gold piping on the seats add to the classy ambience of this non-turbo model. The turbo version may look a bit serious inside, but again, the red inserts on the air vents, the red piping on the seats, and the metal pedals give it a sense of purpose. Finally, there are 7 color options, but it's the turbo version that can also be had with a black roof. But you can only have it with either white or red base color. So in essence, this non-turbo Verna is for your typical sedan buyer who wants to drive around in comfort. Someone who isn't bothered to get anywhere quickly with their heartbeat racing. Someone who is okay with the laid-back nature of this engine or the lack of enthusiasm from the gearbox. It's mostly for those who want ultimate comfort, smoothness, ease of use, and honestly that's majority of the target audience for the new Verna. On the other hand, the turbo Verna I think is for a committed audience. It's for those who prefer power and performance above everything else. It's for the kind of people who are well aware of the fact that they are paying a premium for a reason and that they will have to sacrifice a big chunk of fuel efficiency in the pursuit of speed and pure driving fun. Speaking of which, let's see how these two fare when it comes to real-world performance and fuel efficiency. There was never any doubt that the turbo version would be faster than the naturally aspirated Verna. But by how much? That's the real question we always had, but now we can put it to rest. In our acceleration test, the turbo Verna is 1.5 seconds faster from 0 to 60 km per hour, and the gap only gets bigger and bigger as you approach highway speeds. By the time you've touched 100, it's 4 seconds faster than the naturally aspirated version. The turbo version is also quite a bit faster when you want to make an overtake, as is evident from its roll-on acceleration times. It took just 5.34 seconds to do 20 to 80 km per hour. The NA Verna with the CVT is slower by 1.5 seconds during the same run and almost 2 seconds behind if we consider 40 to 100 km per hour roll-on time. In our fuel efficiency test, the Verna Turbo used 7.38 liters to cover 77.7 kilometers on our test route. Now that translates to a real-world fuel efficiency of 10.52 kmpl. On the driver's display, the indicated average fuel efficiency was 11.20 kmpl. Similarly, on our highway test route, we drove the Verna Turbo for 86 kilometers and it used just 5.08 liters for a real-world fuel efficiency of 16.92 kmpl. Here, the onboard computer displayed a fairly accurate mileage of 17.1 kmpl. As for the naturally aspirated Verna with the CVT, it did slightly better, returning 11.07 kmpl in the city and 17.2 kmpl on the highway. Now, we have to make it clear that our mileage test is always performed on a predefined route in real world conditions, and these figures are an indication of what you can expect from your car. That being said, the mileage that you may get from your car may vary because of certain factors such as driving style, fueling method, and traffic conditions, to name a few. Now that you have a clear idea about the performance and mileage of these versions, let's see how different the driving experience is like, if at all. Well, it's not the same for sure. I mean, the engines are completely different, the gearboxes couldn't be further apart, and when you look at the colors used on the dashboard, the door pad, and the seats, the collective vibe that you get in either of these cars is quite different. Now, in terms of major differences, it's the way the power is delivered that defines the nature of the turbo and the NA Verna. Right now I am driving the turbo version and there's power everywhere, and once you are past 4000 rpm, there is a significant step up in performance and speed. It pulls so hard and eagerly towards the red line that it's just addictive, and it's something that you would want to do it again and again. But that's something that I wouldn't recommend you do it often because, like every turbo engine car, this Verna is very sensitive to how you drive it. It will get you good mileage if you drive it like a retired pensioner, but drive it hard and it all goes downhill real fast. The non-turbo Verna with the CVT has a completely different character. The turbo engine is plenty quiet and refined, but this naturally aspirated engine seems smoother still, especially at idle or low RPMs. So this engine and gearbox combination is perfect for driving around town or on the highways as long as you're not going pedal to the metal. I say that because there is enough power for the most part, but this engine does tend to get a little loud when you floor it. Now, of course, that is because of the CVT gearbox and how it works with this engine to keep the pace up. Thankfully, this car gets paddle shifters, so you can manually upshift, and the CVT gearbox will simulate a gear change and bring the revs down. The ride on the new Verna is the same irrespective of whichever version you buy. It's noticeably better than its predecessor in the sense that it's rock solid at speeds of up to 120 km/h. It's also very quiet with good insulation all around. But I have to say that at low speeds, the ride is a little bit on the firm side. It's not uncomfortable or anything, but it tends to feel fidgety over bumps and imperfections. Of the two, it's the Verna Turbo DCT version which comes with a few additional features as standard. For instance, it gets rear disc brakes and an electronic parking brake. Both come with 6 airbags, ESC, front and rear parking sensors, automatic headlights, height adjustable front seat belts, leather wrapped steering wheel and gear knob, leatherette seats, climate control, ventilated and heated seats, paddle shifters, sunroof, electrically adjustable driver's seat, though with manual height adjustment, drive modes, wireless charging pad, ambient lighting, tilt and telescopic steering adjustment, and a rear window blind. Also common on both is a 10.25-inch display for the infotainment system, which supports Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. The system is paired to a nice sounding Bose audio system with 8 speakers and comes with voice recognition. For ADAS features, both get forward collision warning with avoidance function, blind spot collision warning and avoidance, lane departure warning, lane keep assist, high beam assist, rear cross traffic warning and assistance. Oddly enough, it's the Turbo DCT version which gets adaptive cruise control with stop and go and lead vehicle departure alert. Both are missing on the naturally aspirated CVT car that we have here. At the time of filming, the ex-showroom price for the Verna non-turbo CVT in the SX option variant is 16.10 lakhs. As for the same variant with the Turbo DCT, the price goes up to 17.38 lakhs. The on-road difference here is around 1,40,000 rupees, which to me doesn't seem like a lot when you factor in all the extra performance and the features that the turbo model gets you. Unfortunately, there is no diesel engine option for the Verna anymore. It's either of these two cars, and I know that is a bit of a letdown for some of you who still prefer diesel engines for the kind of torque that they give. But that's exactly where this turbo Verna comes in. Now, I know that this car will never be as fuel efficient, but that's not the point anyway. This car is for those who genuinely enjoy driving, even today when the traffic situation is getting worse and the world in general around fast cars seems to be getting more and more difficult. So where does this leave the naturally aspirated Verna CVT, or as I now like to call it, the everyday Verna? Well, of the two, it's the easier car to live with for sure. I mean, it's better on fuel efficiency and it's ever so slightly more refined at city speeds. And because of the CVT gearbox, it manages to lay down its power in a more linear fashion. Sure, you'll have to make it work a bit harder if you want to get somewhere quickly, but for every other occasion, it's just as impressive as the Turbo Verna. Of the two, I think I would be more inclined towards the Turbo DCT Verna, mainly because outright performance is something that's higher up in my list of priorities if I am to buy the Verna today. Is it the same for you? Let us know in the comments which of these two you would put your money on.